I was trying to make it where I can use.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good afternoon. How are you gentlemen doing?
Position. Just don't matter.
I'm checking my Instagram real quick because it should be feeding my Instagram live. Not yet. Not yet. It's not. Can you see me on Twitch?
I'm going there now. I'm on your page. I see your intro. No, this is a.
Yep, I see you guys. I see you guys. Yeah, well, you know, it's Twitch. They gotta make their money. They gotta get their stack.
Okay. Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. I'm just double checking Instagram, and then then we're good. We're definitely live on Twitch though. But Instagram, as you know how powerful that is. I don't want people to have to hop. So give me 1 sec.
All right. So that's what we look like.
Right.
So you can move that out the way if you need to, show your face or whatever.
That's not good. That's good.
All right, yeah, we are on Instagram. The only problem is that we're widescreen, so people who are watching on Instagram are looking at, I might rearrange the screens just so it looks better for Instagram if you give me 2 seconds.
Do your magic.
Okay.
Mm-mm. No, it's on silent.
That may be a little better. All right. How you guys doing this afternoon?
We're good.
Good, great. Everybody, we're in the house with two incredible gentlemen. One of the greatest keyboards percussionists and music creators that I know. Has a reputation that's international. Everything from the Funkadelic to Stylistics to Dre to Royce to 5'9" is in the house with us tonight. DJ Los and his father, Mr. Small, are here. Butch Small, who's the creator of some of the sounds that we probably have been sampling since the inception of hip hop. I can't name how many different records that you've influenced and or actually played on that I have behind me in my collection, and that some of them I've actually had the pleasure of working as a promoter. So it's great to meet you finally, sort of in person on the internet. And it's good to see Los, who's a DJ I've admired and have had the opportunity to work with over the years. So welcome, both of you.
Thank you. Peace.
So it's not Father's Day, but one of the first places that we probably should start is how influential a parent can be on the development of a child and their development to who they are as a human being. And for you guys, that's not just in terms of personal or interpersonal stuff and, your belief system and, culturally, but it's also a music thing and a history thing. So maybe you guys want to talk about how Los grew up and what it meant to be, a father coming up in the music industry.
You want to take it?
Yeah, I got. Well, me myself coming up in the music industry, because I've been in it since I was like 17, 18 years old. So my career spans about 50 years, and it's been a professional career from the beginning. And when I witnessed that Los was conscious about the music, he used to come to my concerts. He was about 8 years old. Los has been in the studio since he's 8 years old. When I was with Bootsy's Rubber Band and Parliament Funkadelic. So he has credits as an 8-year-old on a Bootsy's Rubber Band album. So that, and with the fact that he was able to go to concerts I was involved with, we would put a sticker backstage pass on him when he was 8 years old. He'd go out in the audience by himself. It wasn't a thing where kids get snatched or any of that kind of nonsense back in the day when he was 8. So he could be himself. He could explore. He could be backstage. And so I think maybe all of the influences that I had as a father, and I would bring him back all my backstage passes and glue them to an absolute water bottle, big water bottle. And so he would have that in his room, and he would see my equipment downstairs in the basement. And he knew all the acts that I was working with. He came up growing up, talking to all, people like Ron Banks of the Dramatics as an uncle. So he had a lot of musical influenced uncles when he was growing up, because I was part of that musical landscape in Detroit.
Was as a parent, allowing your child that amount of freedom, was that something that was extremely important to you, or was it just instinctive? You just knew that was important?
Well, I felt that I think he came along because those were the things that I was doing, And I don't know if at that point, I didn't know that he would be totally engulfed and involved with music. But I knew that it was a good environment for him to be able to see how we make recordings, see people that he would see on television, in the doing in-store, record store signings of autographs, and different people on the radio. And it took an effect with him, like, I like this. And I had no way of knowing that it would affect him that way. But I knew I was just bringing him along on my regular, this was my regular career. So, I took him to New York. Oh, he was maybe 8 or 9. And I took him on Broadway, and I showed him how to vendor with the owners of stores. We would go back and forth to all these electronic shops, and I would tell him, I said, okay, we're gonna go in here, we're gonna price this, we're gonna price that, and then we're gonna go next door, across the street, and then we would find the cheapest price for the same item that we were purchasing, and all the items that we were purchasing were for him. So he learned how to vendor and know how to conduct himself to get exactly what he wanted. I mean, he had TVs, those small
Sony Watchmen.
Yeah, Sony Watchmen, Sony what's the
Walkmans
and everything, and he would get them for the cheapest price. Because, I just taught him a lesson, and it's been with him to this day. I mean, he's ordering things from Amazon and going in music stores, and he knows the value and knows how to understand this is what I can get it for if I just do research and barter and get it, so it worked.
Patience.
Yeah.
Los, what do you remember first what made you want to engage music and making music? Like, at that young age, what was the first thing that struck you? Was it the sound of what was going on? Was it the energy of what was going on? Or was it like the electronics and the instruments, and was it something visual?
I think it's a combination of me just having a creative spirit and being around music since I was a child. My dad, like he said, it was a lot of influence by what I heard, not realizing that it would influence me. I was just listening, and just going to work with my dad. You know what I'm saying? I'm just hanging with my dad every day. That's all I care about. You know, but I focused and zeroed in on those sounds, and I think I developed the consciousness of knowing I had rhythm. You know what I'm saying? By watching my dad in the studio and bobbing my head along with his head, watching him behind the glass. I'm like, okay, I'm emulating him, but not realizing that it's something in me too. So when I could draw really well. I was very creative when I was a kid, and when hip hop came along, it it allowed me another avenue to be creative. And so, like my dad was saying, he would have instruments and drum machines laying around, and I would ask could I play with them, or could I, just test it out to see what I could do. And that's how I developed an interest in the beat making part. You know, as far as the DJing and scratching, that was solely watching hip hop emerge. With people like Jam Master Jay. When Jam Master Jay came out, and I heard that record scratching, on so many records that he did, and then I seen the movie Crush Groove. I said, man, I gotta learn how to do this, man. This guy is too good. I don't know what this is, but I was just compelled. I gotta learn how to do this, man. It's just something that made me want to do that. So,
A lot of adults, and a lot of people I remember back in the day were not big fans of hip hop, whereas uh, but you completely embraced and seemed to engage artists throughout your career at that are both at various levels and across the board in many different genres. Um, how do you do that, and what do you think helps kinder or create that spirit in you to be that open?
Well, I believe what it is that I do, the Creator gave it to me, and I'm a natural, so I'm able to go. If I'm gonna do a pop album, I know what elements to put within the framework of that artist that I'm working with, um, or if it's R&B, or if it's gospel, or hip hop. So I'm like a fabric of music, and I'm still doing sessions today and doing live concerts all around the world. But my thing, when hip hop came into existence, I seen it come into existence. I was doing concerts at the Apollo in New York uh, with the Dramatics at that time, and they would have a DJ that would be like for intermission uh, between the acts, and I would see the reaction of the audience. Uh, he would be spinning records, which I mean he has a vast library because all they had to do was go purchase the records. Everything that's hot on the radio, WBLS or wherever from New York, and then in between playing those records, he would have a microphone and he would say little sayings like "on and on," like what, and the whole audience would say "hot," like popcorn, and this. So we've seen all of this coming as it evolved, and see myself being a musician. When we first started hearing the rappers rapping over top of the music that we created, because I've heard countless Emcees rap over music that I'm a part of. We said this is not going to last because they're not musicians. We were all the people that created the music, and they would just take the music as a music bed and do vocals over there. And so we said this can't last because they can't create the music. But what it wound up being is as music started evolving, even the way that you got paid for music started evolving. When the MCs first started rapping over music, there was no sampling laws, there was no nothing. You know, they just say, "Oh, I can take this and I can do what I want to do with that." You know, so I mean, it made people don't know how fast that it made the government, it made us songwriters and musicians and producers and publishers scramble to try and figure out, oh, we have to do something now, right away, before this totally gets totally out of hand. But so it was it's been a journey. I've watched it. I'm part of it. I'm part of it now, and I can't say I'm having a dull moment with the music, because listening to the radio on any given day, I'm going to hear myself on the radio, whether I created a sound or if I'm just playing for just acoustical percussion instruments for any given producer, or producing things myself. So I'm very, very a part of the hip hop. I have so many hip hop friends and so many hip hop clients that I've worked with, and all of that. So it's all good. I'm glad to see that a music genre evolved so massive that the point that it took over. It's hip hop in everything now. It's hip hop in rock. It's hip hop in gospel, R&B, pop. Even some classical remakes with classical instruments using the hip hop flavor to make it happen. And I mean, that's so totally big influence. And then, like I said, I travel the world. I see this happen in Japan and Germany and France and England and Scotland. I mean, Australia. So it's very vast. Hip hop then took over the music industry to the point that it's a big influence, and it works.
And you guys are both written into the DNA of that, which is pretty incredible. I guess Los would be 25, 30 years as a DJ. Your dad has over 50 years of making music and creating music. You're a percussionist, Butch, and
Yeah.
you're kind of a turntablist, Los. The relatability between drumming and turntables and pattern creation and rhythm. Um, how would you guys, describe that? Because you've both been involved through the entire evolution of the process. Like, does it feel a bit like you're a drummer, Los? And then how does your father's lineage or his your experience being around him affect you as a turntablist?
Yes, I definitely feel like what I do could be considered a form of percussion because it involves a lot of rhythm and timing. And I adopted what my dad, one of his philosophies is, he adds the sprinkles and the extra spices to the music. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
those extra spices is what gives that music that flavor. Just like a food is done. And I'm the same way. I try to approach it in the same manner. I'll listen to somebody's music and I'll say, what can I add to it? Or even a performance. What can I add to it? Just to give it a little bit more spice. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, in that retrospect, I am like my dad in that manner.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I used to say to you, when Los first started out scratching and being a DJ, I would listen to his patterns. I would listen to his rhythm. I would say, you need to do maybe this way, that way. Then I even taught him about things about sound, EQ, because I'm also an engineer as well as a player, and sound is so very important. So to this day, I've seen him evolve to the point where he is. And when you mentioned that it's in our DNA, we have a song called DNA on a project that's going to be coming out in the future. But his rhythm, and I've worked with some of the best DJs in the industry, but Los has ability to not only just scratch but produce, and his rhythm is uh, I'm like I'm saying he has it. He's got that natural. And what we call naturals are aces. Aces can't be beat. I have musicians um, that are naturals, and when we all call each other, like my book I'm going to have is going to be called The Legend. But the whole thing about it is you can't beat the naturals. Those are the aces. They're always going to shine through. You're always going to create something that no one else could do. I mean, it's with singers. Like Aretha Franklin. You can't find another Aretha. You can't find another Stevie. You can't find another Michael Jackson. You can have emulators that try to get there, but they can never get there because in Luther, I can go on and on and on. The naturals are the naturals, and they work. Because the creator said, "This is you. This is what I want you to do. This is
No
it.
gimmicks.
No gimmicks. No, I mean, uh, the moment any of us do anything, no one else can possibly do it like that. You got plenty of people that do what I do, what Los does, um, but they're not going to do it like I do it. They're not going to do it like Los does it. That's why I get those calls from all the different producers, from a Quincy Jones to a Seven Aurelius to Dr. Dre to all of these people, Michael Stokes. I've worked with countless producers. I mean, Royce the 5'9". I just did Royce's album, by the way, of Los a year ago, and he got nominated for the Grammy. Uh, and then I co-wrote a song on there. I did 2 songs on his album. So we keep evolving, we keep going.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing that for music it has to keep evolving. And as a human being, I mean, you're really young. You know what I'm saying? Regardless in your energy and your presentation and how you carry yourself. So I guess evolving and who you surround yourself, that plays a major part of that.
Absolutely.
Tell me this: you guys both have incredible ears. Have you ever considered starting a label?
I did that before,
You,
and started Los's career.
right.
Uh, he was in a group called Easy B and DJ Los, and I produced their first album, Untouchable, on them. And I had Chaos and Maestro on the label, Ebony and Her Business. So I basically had one of the first hip hop labels in the city of Detroit.
And that was a label that reached all over,
Oh yeah,
because
yeah.
actually Los's record I didn't even buy in the state of Michigan. I bought it outside of Michigan, and the Chaos record, that got way outside of Detroit. So obviously, as we talk now, I'm literally saying, now you guys have such a great ear, and as music continues to evolve, as 2 people who could lead that or could find stuff, because I find out about a lot of music just listening to Los's streams, just having conversations with Los. So that's rare. That's
Yeah.
hard to find. It's hard to find somebody that educates you in music. And hopefully a lot of people that are listening and hanging out today will follow the stream and follow Los and add him into their library of people who they use as reference points for creating their libraries and their playlists for the week. Um, Los, how do you feel about the online presence, the Twitch and the Facebook? And is that, how has that opened doors for you, or how has that affected you? And, what do you think will be the long term effect of having DJs and musicians using that as a format?
I love it. I do it all the time. It's easier to it's easier to do it from home than as opposed to on location, because you got to take your equipment and set up and all of that. If it's already set up at home, you just get to it. You know, um, I don't like the censorship, you know, from the platforms, certain platforms, like Twitch. I don't think they mute your sets when you do them, but I know Facebook and Instagram has been known to do that.
Yeah,
And,
they all do. They all
you know,
do. It's just when they do it.
yeah,
Facebook will cut you off.
yes,
Instagram will cut you off.
yes. But what they do with me now is they mute, they go back. Like you can see me streaming, but after it's done, they'll mute certain songs that I've played. But you'll see me, but there'll be no sound, no audio. So
Right.
what they'll do is they'll wait maybe a year. I guess they monitor to see if you're monetizing from the stream that you created. If you have, they can't prove that you put your Cash App up, or what I'm saying, you try to make some type of money from streaming. Then they'll unmute your video, but it'll be like a year and a half after you've done it. You know what I'm saying? You're like, oh,
Yeah,
it's over now.
I've had that happen to me, and I actually have noticed that they do it faster. Some labels are much more averse, it appears, and then some of them, their algorithms. I don't know if their algorithm is built into the platform or if the algorithm is something that comes in afterwards. But I've had like Universal release music, like they put a claim on it and then they immediately release it, and then I've had Sony come in like an hour later and then adds a block onto it and then take it away. But I've noticed that Facebook, once you've played music, once they realize it's been flagged for any reason, they just mute it in like 250 countries and leave it that
Yeah,
way until, you
yeah,
know, it's been interesting. I've seen a lot of stuff get released in, quicker and different things. So real quick, and on that note, so World One Records, Gen Car Productions, Class One Music, Forever Smash Music, management company, um, because of online streaming, and because of the current model, which is you get your publishing from your music, and various people play their ASCAP BMI and their Sound Exchange and other. They pay those other companies to basically chase down your money from your music. How do you feel, Butch? Because you have so many things that are published, and you have publishing companies. How do you feel about the I guess I don't want to call it the interruption, but the disruption of DJs as an online thing versus the regulation and the censorship that the labels and publishing companies are trying to implement so that they can continue to make their massive amounts of publishing, which of course when you get it to the artist level is not as massive, but that's a whole nother discussion.
Well, the revenues that come about, how we generate our money for our works and creation, like I said, when it came about, when sampling, nobody knew nothing about sampling, and we had to jump on that as quick as we could. It's the same thing now, because you got the NFTs now. I got electronic wallets to bring in revenue. You got your publishing. You still have your standard companies like BMI and ASCAP and CSAC, and you got new developed companies like Sound Exchange that's trying to evolve and be part of all of those things too. But the thing about being in this business, you have to be like a businessman. You have to know and be aware of all of those avenues to be able to get your just due with the music that you create. Now it's going to be it's going to be a battle all the way along, because you almost like have to be your own manager, which I've been my own manager, and I've managed people. You have to be totally like engulfed on the computer to learn all these avenues, and then you constantly are like almost like a watchdog to say, oh, we should have money coming in from here, we should have it coming in from there. But it's going to be the ways that you're going to always capitalize is to learn yourself before you turn over that to all these self-made companies like Sound Exchange and everybody, because if you know what they're supposed to be doing, then you know what you're going to get from benefits from these different companies that spring up, and they spring up overnight. And so you have to make a choice. Okay, let me talk to you. Let me see what you do. Let me read what they do, and then that's where you go for it.
Makes sense. Historically, artists and black artists especially have been taken advantage of by record labels, by publishing companies, by management companies. Um, I guess because there's so many cautionary tales, so many stories. The fact that it's still happening is a little disturbing. And from both your perspectives, why do you think it's still happening? Is it lack of education? Is it the sheer desire rushes people into doing things that they would not normally do? Which what do you think is still causing this?
Well, I think it's a lack of knowledge of what it is you're doing, you know, and some people jump to the chance to sign a contract. Some people don't know how to read a contract, and they never wrote a contract. I've written contracts, I read contracts, and then I have, you know, lawyer representation to double check what I'm thinking, you know, and what I'm reading. So you can't rush into anything when it comes to dollars and cents uh, throughout your whole life. You know, I mean, it could be any kind of contract. If you want to go out and buy a new car, you gotta know what the contract is. You know, you bought a new refrigerator, anything. You have to know what you're signing and what you're acquiring. So there is a knowledge that you have to have. And if you don't take the time to try and uh, get in tune with that, you know, you just can't be a creator and somebody's come up and say, oh man, I want to manage you and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. You know, everybody wants to manage the next best thing. I mean, and you just have to be on top of it. That's my theory is don't never stop learning. You're always in school. I'm always in school. I never stop learning, you know.
And tell me this, you guys. I mean, Los, he's always telling me he's like, man, I'm not that technical. Los is, that's not really true. So earlier we were talking about the various electronics and things that you would take Los to buy and how you would search for deals and how you would compare one device with another device both in price and what it could do. How do you think the technology, or how do you feel the technologies has influenced the sound and influenced you guys' sound, and how do you think it's changing how people make music from both of you guys' perspective?
Well, I think, well, the new hip hop generation, they're not as critical as how we used to be. I mean, if we would mix a song, it might take a day. It may take 12 hours. We might hire a whole symphony. You know, we would do things that would sonically, we would try and make sure that we had everything that we were trying to produce and create. The new digital domain now has made things a little bit easier, as far and as well as being able to have equipment at home now. You know, we used to have to go. I owned a 24-track studio at one time, so we now are able to bring those components and narrow it down to a few great pieces and be able to do your work at home. And it's made everybody think they can make records. I mean, I've ran into so many people over the years that said, listen to my demo tape, listen to my tape. I did it at home. I did this, I did that, you know. And I mean, I would take the time to listen to certain things. I was like, they need to still develop. They need to do this better. You know, I mean, it's the electronic age is, and with the computer alone, the computer has changed every aspect of what could be done now. You know, we used to have to go to printing companies to get your business cards printed, but not today. You can do it yourself. You know, same thing with the music. You can do it at home, but you have to have knowledge of certain pieces to buy. You know, like microphones are very important. You know, some people say, "Oh, I can go in and buy this mic, and this will make my song sound like somebody else sounded and sold 3, 4, 5 million." No, it's not. You know, you gotta understand. There's still science to all of it. You know, and that's why you hear some products are more inferior than others. They don't understand what it is that they need.
Hey Los, how do you feel about the evolution of electronics and music? And I'll circle back with another question after this. But how has it changed your sound? How has it made things easier? And how has it made it easier for other people to jump in and make music and be creative or not be creative?
Well, it's like all other forms of technology. It made us lazier. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it made it easier. It made it easier. I love the convenience of the laptop, you know, instead of carrying crates of records. But it made us lazier. Like, I don't travel to the record store like I used to and dig through the records. Every now and then I'll do that. I don't do it like I did when I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? When I was a teenager, it was fun. Just searching, you know, and digging even through my dad's own records, just looking at the album covers and stuff. So I'm not even concerned about what an album cover looks like as much anymore. So I'm lazy minded in that sense. Um, uh, the technology, you know, everything is easily accessible. It's like fast food. You know, the faster the foods you go by, the worse or the less nutritional they are. So it's like that with music as well. Um, we don't have a lot of musicians anymore. You know what I'm saying? We got the vets like my dad and his peers. But a lot of people my age don't play instruments. You know what I'm saying? We have a few, but not the mass majority of them are instrumentalists. They don't know how to play real instruments. So we're losing something with the technology because we don't learn those forms of those art forms like we did before. And like with DJing, like now, you got controllers, so people don't even know what it is to look at a needle on a record. You know what I'm saying? They don't even know what that is. They don't know what it is to get the dust off of the needle and put the needle back on the record. You know what I'm saying? They don't know none of that. You know what I'm saying? It's strictly MP3s, WAV files, and that's it. And so we're lazier now. You know, that's why you see me, I still use my same turntables my dad bought me over 30 years ago. Those are the same exact turntables that he bought me when I first started. And I do that for sentimental purposes as well as to keep myself, you know what I'm saying, with a
Keeps you
little,
sharp.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? And that's like Dad said, you know, that's why I might get the calls from certain people because they can see it. They can see that, oh, this guy still, I see the laptop, but he still has a form of the old school art form and the essence of what it started from. You know what I'm saying? He's still using turntables. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're gonna do a performance.
Yeah, you know. So if I'm like the other day, just yesterday, I had to go to a radio station to do a promotion for this Rakim show that I got coming up this Saturday, and they said bring something light, you know, and I'm like, bring something light. They were like, yeah, we want you to just play a couple of records, and I got a little, I don't have it with me, but I got a little controller that I keep in my backpack that I could whip out. And I said, I'm not getting caught on camera with that. I'm taking all my turntables. I'm taking everything with me. Yeah. And I'm setting up in there, and we're going to do it just like I'm on stage. And so that's what I did. So I know they appreciated that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so tell me this. What about, I think it's Phil Spear and also the guy from Funky Drummer, Clyde Stubbfield, and a couple other people, they've started to take them into the studio, then sample the sounds, and then they've had them play grooves out so that you can actually take whole grooves, individual samples, without, you know, having to dig through a record and equalize it or chop it up the right way to get the bits and pieces of sound, which is, you know, in one way it's really cool because you have the sound by itself, but another way, when you used to sample stuff, sometimes you would sample it wider so you could get the sound of the record, you could get additional hi-hats, you could get a more of a swing to it. Now they're literally selling patterns in some cases. Like, you can buy a whole pattern for a house record, and then you could just rearrange the pattern or change the sounds in the pattern. They're not going to get to where you are doing that. I've noticed also a lot of, you know, DJs, like they're the two twin girls that DJ, and there's a lot of videos on how to DJ, and a lot of people that take patterns and or entire routines. Because I was never a routine dude, but they would take a lot of routines and they literally learn how to do these routines, and then they just apply them to different records. They're not even really, sometimes in some of the cases, these DJs, they're not even mixing two records together. So is that the what's his name, Alfonso Riviera, is that kind of effect? Remember, he made a breakdancing videotape and he showed everybody how to breakdance, and that was like kind of the end of breakdancing, you know? Are they passing along too much information so that you don't have to try to learn, or is it going to accelerate people innovating because the information and the technology is so accessible?
I think it's cheating. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I gotta say that because I'm sitting right next to my dad. You know what I'm saying? And I know how my dad feels about it. Like, it's not the original form of musicianship, okay? But in defense of hip hop, if there is an art form in itself to sampling, we know that from our predecessor, Jay Dilla. Jay Dilla was a master at sampling records in a way that even the person who does it on a regular basis can't even figure out how he samples stuff. You would think it would be simple. You're like, how did he get that sample to sound like that? That record doesn't do that. Mm-hmm. What did he do? And you study it, you know what I'm saying, as like someone like a Mozart or somebody, you know, a composer, like that guy really put some time into that composition. You know what I'm saying? He didn't just throw that together. And it's the same way with sampling sometimes. People do that and they have a gift. They have a gift. So there's pros and cons with it, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, is it you know, the actual musicianship that, you know, our forefathers, you know, mastered? No, it's not the same. You know what I'm saying? It's not the same. But we still uphold what we do as well.
Right. And Butch, you got any comments on that, boss?
You know, I've been considered a master percussionist, and my whole thing from the beginning till now is creating. And I do, when I play live percussions, which is what I do on concerts, I'm playing live, and I'm in the studio and I'm creating parts. I'm using instruments. I may have about 70 or 80 different percussion instruments and 3-4 sets of congas, 3-4 sets of bongos. They all have different timbre, different sound. So I'm creating musical accompaniment to go along with other instruments, so that like the body of work I've done, a lot of records, I put signature trademarks. I have certain instruments that I love that I'll use. And so throughout the 50 years, you'll know that's that player. You know, if I did a Dr. Dre song, you know that Carl Butch Small did a Dr. Dre song. If I did a dramatic song, you'll know that it's Carl Butch Small on the dramatics. Or Clark Sisters, You Brought the Sunshine. It's so many signature trademarks of what I've done throughout my career. And I use my creative part with playing my instruments, but I also use the electronic part because I got all electronic drums. I got my sampler, but my sampler that I use, that I can use live, has all my instruments in it from my library. And so you can't go to the store and buy it, you know, because everything in it is me, even to the finger snaps, my hands clapping, whatever. It's all from me. So you can't go in the store and buy it.
Right.
So, but I like the electronic part of it all because I've been doing that. I've been sequencing when it first started into sequencing. I had what did I have? A Atari, Dr. C,
Dr. T.
Dr. T sequencing software, yeah. Atari ST. I was sequencing stuff with World One Records before it was even common around here. You know.
I forgot to program the format we were using.
That was Dr. T.
No, Dr. T, but it was Cake something.
Cakewalk.
Cakewalk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he started using Cakewalk after me, but I exclusively did Dr. T with y'all stuff. But I like the electronic stuff. I really do. Because sometimes I used to have to play through. If it was a 5-minute song or a 10-minute song, now I don't have to really do that unless I choose to do that. So now I might do 4 bars or 8 bars. And then in Pro Tools, I just place it and create, you know, but it still will sound natural because the instruments that I'm using are not electronically produced. They're all organic. They're the natural sounds, you know. So I get to play along in the digital world as well as being able to create with my natural habitat of percussion instruments.
Tell me, sound wise and process wise, do you prefer, and is it more common for you to literally go to the studio and work with artists, or do you sometimes send tracks or resources out for them to use in their production? I know people would love to have you there as an engineer because you're an incredible engineer, but are there still times that you actually send stuff out, because that's become a trend, especially vocalists now, you know, things get passed around and sent from one place to the next?
Yeah, I do them both. I send tracks out, you know, the stems so they can place them, and I go do stuff live. Right now, just me and Seven Aurelius, who's a producer, we're creating music down in Lexington, Kentucky, and I'll get in an SUV and drive down there for 5.5 hours and take the whole SUV loaded with my equipment and go down there and play it live, because that's what we're trying to accomplish, you know. But if he was to call me today and say, "But can you send?" and I've done that, you know, just send tracks by way of you know, waveform. And when I'm in the studio, a lot of artists get the thrill of seeing how I do it. You know, like when I went to work with Royce. Royce never seen that before. And he was like, "Oh, this is how it's done." You know what I'm saying? I mean, he wasn't aware of what a percussionist was. Los is the one that gave him the idea, "You should use my dad on your album."
Yeah, he thought Dr. Dre did everything, and I was telling him, "Hey man, the sounds in the background is my dad a lot of times," and he's like, "What are you talking about, Los?"
Right.
So when we were sitting in the airport, and I told him, I said, "Listen to this right here, this little sound right here, you know, these little wind chimes or this flexitone, you know," and he's like, "I always thought that was Dr. Dre." I'm like, "Nah, man, that's my dad." So he gave me a OG call one day. He was like, "Los." I was like, "What up, Royce?" "I think this is the call, man. I think this is the call." I said, "What, you need my dad?" He said, "Yeah, man. If he can come to the studio today, I'd love it." So I hit my dad up, put him on the the 3-way, and they worked it out, and he got up there.
Oh yeah.
It's also the same with you. I mean, people bring you in the studio to cut all the time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you put your 10,000 hours in. How do you guys feel about that? Like, we talked about being a natural, but
Mhm.
is it still, even if you're a natural, even if you still have that acumen for being great, even if you still have the potential to be great, how much of that is, also that 10,000 hours? And who do you know of that has skipped that 10,000 hours? Meaning they just picked up an instrument and went to town and they were, where they were at, then today.
Yeah, I don't know nobody who just picked it up and they were just great, and it might have been good, but as years and time went on, they developed more skills and more confidence, and they got better at what they did. They might have been good in the beginning, you know what I'm saying? But I don't know anybody who just as good as when they started, because learning experiences. That's how you grow.
Right, failure.
Yeah,
You learn through your failures.
You have to.
How do you and why do you maintain the focus and the commitment that you both have? That's a question for both of you.
Well, music is in us. I mean, there's nothing more that I get great pleasure out of than doing music. I mean, when I'm performing live in front of thousands and millions of people, and I do this yearly, I have people come backstage and says, "What was that instrument?" And they would know when I played it. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm playing a different array of instruments, and they're like, "I never knew it looked like this," you know. So I get the pleasure out of it's school to me. School is in. I mean, I do every now and then I'll do a jam session here in Detroit and bring instruments that I know that the public is not aware of, but they have heard it on the recording, and we will replay that recording live, and they'll say, "I never knew that instrument looked like that," So I get a thrill out of performing for people, as well as if I'm in the studio. I'm a master in the studio, and I'm a master at. I'm a well-rounded musician, and I know my craft from what microphones to use on to placement, reflections from glass, from a 20-foot ceiling to, so these are the things that you learn along the way and you apply them. And that's why you wind up staying that mainstay performer. And I wind up being that mainstay performer. I'll be doing this until I don't think I want to do it anymore. And that's not too soon.
Yeah, I don't know when that would be. In terms of sounds, and bits and pieces, and of course full records, what are your most sampled and most storied records? I know people use some of the snares, like have really gone after some of the snares, and I know there's some interesting stories about that.
Yeah.
But there are also some other grooves. What are the more sampled tracks?
I've heard. Ooh, wow! I've been sampled on so many records from my hand claps.
I give you one.
Right.
His bongo solo on Scorpio.
Oh,
like Dennis
yeah.
Coffey.
Yeah, the Congress.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the breakdown part on Young Emcees.
Yeah.
Young MC, Bust the Move. And he says, "Now break it down." That's my dad when he was like 16 years old, playing the congas.
And that record is, again?
Scorpio by Dennis Coffey.
Right. And that Dennis Coffey record is also, I think, Breakbeat #2. There's a series of records that came out, for those who don't know, that are the original Breakbeat records that everybody would get doubles of. Like, if you couldn't get the 45, or you couldn't get the actual original, you would get the Breakbeat. And then Breakbeat Lou put out a whole
Yeah,
series of
yeah,
break
Breakbeat
beats.
Lou, that's my buddy. When I told him who my dad was, he was like, "Oh man," you know, he knew.
Right. Exactly. So that's one. And that was that just what was the process for that one? What was the sound you were going for? What was requested?
Is just creating, playing congas.
That's your first session, wasn't it?
One of them.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many records. I was a youngster and ready to come out of the basement. See, the basement here in Detroit is like the laboratory. The winters would be snow. You don't go outside. So if you're becoming to be involved with something, you spend hours and hours and hours. So when we would create in the basement, and then once you knew you had it developed the way you wanted to have it developed, then you're ready to use it. And so I was just one of those fortunate musicians that get snatched up. I was a young kid. It's my career has been so a journey that I feel like it took me a long time to get the age I am now because I've been so busy. I don't even look at the time. It's just the test of time. 50 years of records. And to be able to move from all these genres, I can remember sitting in the studio with Twinkie Clark, and she wanted to do something like Stevie Wonder's song Master Blaster, and I'm sitting on the piano stool with her, and me and the other musicians. So we wound up doing You Brought the Sunshine. It was like that moment, wow. Johnny Taylor, Disco Lady, that's Parliament Funkadelic on there. Nobody knew that. But that was the funkiest record he ever did, And we're on that record. But I like creating. That's the main thing of it all. I really like creating. And all my instruments that I had when I was 16, 17 years old, I have every one of them now. I never sell anything so that I can reduplicate. Like when we did a concert that I was in charge of for Detroit Recordings, which went through the University of Michigan. We do like a little funk, not an annual concert, but maybe every 2 years or 3 years that Bryce has, and I picked the songs that I want to do, and I wanted to do Shackles, and so I brought my Syndromes out that I did on Shackles with a guitar rhythm that nobody's ever been able to do. They can't even do that song live if I'm not there, because of the elements of what I put into a record. So it's an ever long process. I hear my hand claps all over the place. It was not a thing for me to create them to say, I'm going to make money for a sample with this or whatever. It was creating it to fill a void.
And I get asked that question all the time. Hey, man, you said your dad made the hand claps on Mobile Ounce and Ounce from Zap. I know that everybody's paying him, from sampling that sound. I'm like, no, my dad wasn't thinking like that. When
no one was thinking like that.
He can tell you why he created the sound right now. It's a science to it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, tell us the story.
Well, the story is, a lot of people can't clap on time. We got girls, we got guys. None of them are drummers, okay, or whatever. And we're all trying to clap on 2 and 4. And see, one thing that I know when it comes down to timing, that's what I do. And I can tell right away when things are not accurate enough to be what it is we're trying to do. So I decided to make some boards and created these boards. I still have them to this day. And I used them on What Would You Do? Is one of the last things I did. And they're on my new. I have a Kai sampling kit out right now called Funky Loops, and I have those boards on there as well. So I made them, and I picked up the pieces from a hardware store here in Detroit that don't even exist anymore. And I knew I wasn't going to use regular wood because heating regular wood eventually is going to split on the grain. So I used compressed wood with Formica backing. And I would sit on the floor in a studio and I put these handles and hinges on there. And it's all arm power. And I would do these claps maybe through a 5-minute song. Songs back in the day used to be a little longer than they are today. And however long that song was, I would do those hand claps all by myself. I didn't need 4 or 5 people. I could do it just me. And then I would do the rest with some electronic things like a Mutron 3 and Eventide harmonizer, the plural with the choir sound from that, and EQ from a console. So it became a sound sought after, and it broke wide with Parliament Funkadelic and everybody. So then from that point on, I used to get calls just to do hand claps. I wouldn't even have to do anything else. I would do songs for, different people, Michael Henderson, Alicia Myers, just anybody, just giving them that sound. So back then, it wasn't a thing. I'm creating something. It was creating that void for what I needed to be done for that particular recording. And so it developed into a sound that people are accustomed to this day.
It's amazing. I'm sure Los, and from the 12 Tech Mob perspective, you guys do a lot that other people don't do. I think there's kind of a generation where everybody was constantly trying to come up with new ways of doing things, and then it kind of froze at a certain point, and now you just have duplication of those previous things. Was that challenging yourself to just create something new, or was it just the same spirit as your dad? You just wanted to hear different things, so you kept pushing yourself?
Like I said, I've always been a creative person. So, just in any sense of anything, like I could have been an interior decorator, man. You know what I'm saying? I could have been anything that had to do with creating. So, I get influenced by everything around me. I don't care what it is. I could sit. People say, "How long it take you to make a beat?" I said, "Man, just give me some equipment." You know what I'm saying? As long as I got something to work with, I can mold. You give me some clay, I can create a figurine out of the clay. I used to make. My dad used to buy me all kind of toys like Star Wars action figures. I would go to the kitchen. I would play with that stuff because I don't want him to think he wasted his money. But I'd go and get some foil paper and make something out of foil paper. And I would play with that just as long as I would the toys that he would buy me. So I was like always a weird kid like that, man. I just like to make stuff. I don't care. I can look at something for a long time, like, that reminds me of something else, or I wonder what I could do with that. And if I stare at it long enough, I'll turn it into something else. You know what I'm saying? And that's just how I approach making music. It's the same way. I'm not what you consider a real musician, but I hear things and I'm influenced by what I hear. If there's a record with a sound that's isolated, I'm sampling it. I'm like, I like the way that snare sounds. I like the way that, or he said something, or he said a phrase, or whatever. I can start a beat by anything I focus on. And it's just, I have no limitations with creativity.
Did you ever lose track of a sound? Meaning, like, you hear a record, and let's say in a room, like in a restaurant, and then the aesthetics of that moment, like the ambience of the room, the height of the ceiling, the speakers that it was played on, the type of speaker, and the room noise, and you hear a snare in a certain environment, and then it changes when you like find that same record or that same snare you want to go back for. Do you ever have things in your head that you never find? Because now you download a drum kit, you got like 100 snare sounds inside that drum kit. It's to some degree daunting. Do you ever lose track of the sound that you're working on, or how do you approach it? Like if you have something in your head.
I may lose interest in it. I might say, I thought this would work, and the more I focus on it in combination to whatever else I'm using it with, I may lose the desire to use it. I'll be like, it's not working well. It's like drawing. You draw something, you're like, I thought that was good, but I can do better than that. You ball it up, you start over. And so that's how I am with using sounds. You know what I'm saying? I'll like it, or I'll like a whole beat. I'm like, oh, this is cold. And after 2 or 3 minutes, I'll be like, yeah, it ain't that fresh. But I don't ball it up and throw it away. I save it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, shout out to my dad and my late manager, Mr. Maxey, John Maxey. He said, don't throw away nothing, Los. Don't throw away no beats. Don't throw away nothing. Keep it all. My dad tells me to keep my equipment. You know what I'm saying? He said, don't throw it, don't sell nothing. Keep it all, because you don't know when you'll need it for something else later in life. So I don't throw anything away. I just lose interest in it, and I may use it later. So it's like that with sounds and beats too.
Got you. And where do you find a lot of your stuff? You find a lot of your stuff on the original records, I assume, or do you also dig for kits or?
Oh, I dig for kits. Like I said, no limitations. And now you got unlimited libraries and access to different websites with clearance-free samples and stuff like that. And I like to use those a lot of times too now, because I don't like to pay for clearance for a sample.
Dig it. So you use TrackLib?
I've used TrackLib before, but I don't use it all the time. You got TrackLib. I don't like to give all my little secrets away. I'm trying to remember all of the websites that I use. Man.
Sad thing is, if you were to tell everybody the website you use and they went there, they may never find what you actually use.
They wouldn't.
They're not going to use it the same way.
They wouldn't, because I'm so subliminal with the way I do. I don't take the obvious,
Right, you're looking for something specific, and
Yeah.
it's not gonna be what they're bringing to the table. Modern music, like who do you guys like right now? What have you heard, and and where have you heard it that really you're like, oh man, I love that.
Good question. Good question.
Oh. Los didn't say this was going to be an easy interview.
For me, one of my favorite producers right now is Soundtrack. Soundtrack is you spell his name SNDTRK, and I like the way he formulates his beats.
How about you, Senior? How about you, Butch?
I'm still partial to something sounding not so digitally new. I like what Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak are doing. The songs are more R&B based. At this point, I would say I like what they're doing, and then I'm always creating. I'm always working with different new people like Rihanna and everybody. So I get to hear them trying to stretch out and do different things, and I'm trying to think if there's anybody out here that I'm really into, and I can't think of nobody more than Anderson and them, Anderson .Paak and Bruno. I like what they're doing. They're keeping it. They're grabbing from the past and putting it with the new, and I like where they're coming from with that.
What are you guys reading? Like you guys are both articulate. You're both intellectual people. What are you guys reading?
Well, me, I study Hebrew and religion a lot. So that's like my main love when it comes to reading. You know what I'm saying? I study the scriptures and the ancient pre-Diluvian age, before the floods, you know, the deep stuff.
Yeah, see, me, I read electronic stuff. You know, the kind of drum, the live drum computers and things of that nature. I'm more so into the electronic world. Uh, I like the newest cell phones. I like to know what this one can do versus that one. So basically, I'm more into reading that. Then I got people like Seven just wrote a book. I'm reading his book right now, and I'm into writing my book at this time. So I'm pretty much occupied with things of that nature.
More output than input.
Yes.
When is the book coming out? When do you anticipate that
Uh,
being complete?
I anticipate that maybe next year or so. You know, I'm in the preliminary stages of it now. We know the title, we got the cover. I'm dictating uh, narrative stuff for the book because it's a memoirs. And I've got pictures that'll be appearing in the book. It's one of those. As you go, steady compiling. And I've got in between doing that and doing touring and still trying to work on a project that I want to do myself with Los and a couple of other musicians that are master musicians. So, I'm pretty much engulfed with those things.
That sounds interesting. Detroit is definitely, it's the home of Motown. It definitely has a huge jazz history. It has a blues history. Um, how do you feel about the electronic music history in Detroit, and how much were you? I know you definitely influenced, but how much were you a part of it, and what records? And
Well, I like it. I mean, I didn't even know it, and I was Los brought it to my attention that I was really one of the first rappers out of Detroit. I did a record with Was Not Was, and they were a band that was
Be first.
Yeah, and
on record. Be first on the national
the
release.
national release. I did Woodwork Squeaks and Out Come the Freaks by Was Not Was, and they were more a new on edge type of development thing that we were doing, and so electronic scene, Detroit has always been, the house music, with my guy, Juan and
techno.
and
Yeah, that was techno.
what's Force's
Art Force.
Art Force. We've always been into the electronic thing, so the music just evolves. It just keeps going. It changes to a degree, but you still have, bring forth that creativity. So I like the electronic. I really do.
what do you what are some genres that you want to stick, that you want to stick your hand into, that you've heard, like, as music continues to evolve, like, what are some things that you're like, oh, I like what's going on there, I want to dig into that or explore that?
Well, I like, sometimes I go out to the neighborhood bars, the lounges, and see the reaction of the people in there off of certain records, and they gravitate towards different songs in there, and I'd like to create a song for that venue of people, because those people, they don't do anything but go to those neighborhood bars and have a good time. And when that record comes on, just like, I'll give you an example, when when the song that Lil Duval and Snoop did, they went crazy.
Living your best life.
Yeah, I mean, it was so crazy, and it was and it's a couple of them. wow, that these songs come on in these neighborhood in the hood, because I'm from the hood and I love the energy of the hood. And it's a song where they do the ballroom dancing type thing. And it's one song that was really, really so big. I can't think of it right now. That instantly, as soon as these songs come on, I mean, anybody in the place, they erupt.
Yeah, the
So
Step to the Name of Love type records. That was a
yeah,
huge
all of
record
that.
from R.
Yeah,
Kelly.
exactly.
And when
From
they were
our
doing that,
I was
they
doing. Mm-hmm.
they were that other records. Another record that's like that was the record. What's his name? Cupid, which was another. It's another hustle record, really. The Cupid Shuffle, but you
Yeah,
know
that
that.
one. It's another song. Ooh, man, I can't think of. Uh, oh, all the big girls gonna back it up. That one, that record.
Yeah, it's a huge record.
That's a huge record. That record still get played today, and it's about 6, 7, 8 years old. I don't even know how many years, but those are the type of records I want to create a record that I can put that in effect in the clubs. With the club,
A timeless club hit.
Exactly. I want one of those in my career. I've played on records that they play in there, but I want one of those. I want to produce that record.
One record that's just a phenomenal club hit.
Exactly.
Yeah, something that it just is amazing because you create you're out you pass through that era on your journey.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
The David Mancuso era, the Studio 54, Zanzibar,
Right.
old
Right.
school era where they had
Oh
all those
yeah.
huge club records. So if
And those
anybody would know how to make
clubs.
it,
Yeah, and the things that happen in those clubs are so huge that people, I mean, everybody says, I gotta go. I'm going. I'll be there
yeah.
tonight. Go.
And
That's
and
what
some of those big records have come out of Detroit. I mean,
Oh
Good
yeah.
Life, Good Life,
Yeah.
Inner
Good
City, Kevin
life.
Saunderson in Paris.
Yeah.
All of Juan's records were huge. Were
Sure.
really big records. I mean, Kevin's record, Strings of Life,
Mm-hmm.
is a incredibly impactful record. And he performs it, all over the world in symphonies.
There you go.
Um, Technicolor, Clear.
Yeah.
Uh, there's been huge records. I mean, Missy sampled
Huge
Technicolor.
records.
So yeah,
Very
no
huge.
doubt. No doubt that that window was always open. And it's amazing how many of those records came from Detroit. I mean, with just Funkadelic, with just you guys' records that came
Oh
from
yeah,
Detroit.
Be Deep and One Nation, and I mean all of those things. I mean they're just huge.
What do you think, both of you guys, what do you think happened to the instrumental record? Remember, there used to be records that were just strictly instrumental,
Sure.
like the Herb Alpert record, da, 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 was a
Right.
strictly instrumental record.
Right.
Rocket was a strictly instrumental record. What do you guys think happened with those?
Well, I know here they phased out the jazz station, and you don't hear. I'm quite sure those musicians probably still create that music, but they don't have an outlet anymore for that stuff to be played. Because I remember my dad and my mom playing what was it, JZZ?
WJZZ, historic jazz station that
Sure.
Radio 1 bought, and then
every Saturday when it was cleanup time, when I had to clean up my room, and we would have that playing instrumentals, and I know that my daughter, she didn't experience that because they don't have a jazz station anymore. I mean, I'm quite sure it's something, on the internet I could find, or
no, sure, but what I'm saying is they used to play instrumental records in mainstream radio.
Yes,
that
absolutely.
There were, and I'm wondering what happened with that. I mean, maybe it's just the same thing as Christopher, what's his name, that made the Arthur soundtrack. Like, just certain things just aren't happening anymore. Like, they're just not happening. I was wondering if you guys had a perspective on that, and if that's even possible anymore.
Yeah,
No,
I think it's one of those things that it goes through phases. A lot of people now like to, well, especially with hip hop, with rapping, they like to be able to rap the lyrics along with that song, And so that's a part of the vocal ability of everything now.
do you think the records got bigger because rap got simpler? In other words, Rakim versus Snoop versus Future, it's way easier now for somebody to memorize and duplicate the lyrics than it is, than it was back when there was a Rakim or a Run DMC or more complex rappers. KRS One.
Yeah, well, that's because they were trying to, I mean, they were like Rakim. I'd have to look at him like a philosopher. He had an arsenal of knowledge, like a Tupac. All of those rappers, they're not just your average, ordinary rappers. They would be able to do conscious rap. They would bring forth things that was happening in the neighborhood, in the headlines, the energy they brought with it, and they would the masses would love how they did. I mean, Rakim is one of my favorite Emcees. I remember when I took Los to Eric B and Rakim concert. I took him to his first LL Cool J concert. And I mean, these are the things that he was into more than I was into it, but I was into it because I like music. But I took him to those concerts. He went to the Run DMC concert where everybody was holding up their Adidas's over their hair. I mean, it's been good. Yeah, it's an energy that's there.
And you've worked with a lot of you guys have both worked with a lot of some of the top MCs that have come out over time. And what do you think has separated them, from everyone else? And maybe are there things that you just don't see anymore, that just don't exist? I mean, you guys have both worked with and influenced Royce the 5'9", Los. You came up in the Eminem era, and with Proof and all those guys coming through the hip hop shop and the little Chinese restaurant where they used to have the hip hop parties. You know, you guys, yeah, right around the corner from the Grand Quarter. And then but you've worked with Snoop, you've worked with Tupac, you've worked with multiple MCs that break the time barrier. They are not they're people who have records that no matter when you play them, they will always start a party.
Yeah.
So, what do you think has changed? I know you said, the arsenal of intellect and the vocabulary has definitely changed.
Oh yeah.
And that's why I asked you guys about the what you're reading, because what you read ultimately, yeah, 3 Floors of Fun in Ann Arbor. I know Ernie. I think me and you bumped into each other. So listen, real quick, Ernie Carwell's on the stream. Miss J in London's on the stream. Our friend Leonard Adams is on the stream. I know.
DJ Lynn Swan.
Lynn Swan is in here. I just like the fact that when Facebook pops up, it's somebody's real name. So people are like, hey, who's that? That's it. Yeah, there's government names up here, so people don't know who's who. But that's the infamous Lynn Swan. There's a lot of people that tune in and listen. And they they're in and out. But I mean, honestly, I feel like I'm gonna have a good conversation, whether it's 2 people here or 9 people here. I'm hoping that the conversations that we have open up a door and educate people, and then force both me and the people that I'm talking to think differently, or to investigate things, after we've had that conversation, to look things up and, try different things out. So, hopefully some people will go look up your, the sound library that you put up with Akai. Hopefully people will go look at both of you guys' discographies and explore some of the records. And hopefully people have been educated. I mean, there's not many times you're going to talk to somebody that's a member of Was Not Was, RJ's Arrival, put out his son's record, which is something that rarely happened. I mean, that happened for the audio too, but how often does that happen? Sweatband, Funkadelic, Parliament, and then worked on some of the greatest death row records that are historic. And now Snoop owns all that stuff again, which is really kind of
that's very I think it's good, because I know whatever Snoop does with it, he's gonna do the best with it, because it's like part of him, So I wish him well with whatever he does. I know I'm going to get a call if there's some music to be worked on or whatever. I'll get a call from Snoop, and I think it's that's kind of very interesting right there.
Yeah, it's it's amazing. I don't know how many Stax records. My dad used to take me to, and it was weird. Grover Washington used to pass through Lansing and play at the Civic Center.
Hmm.
Funkadelic, you guys played at the Civic Center with the pyramid and everything.
Right.
I got to see the Isaac Hayes tour where he had the Cadillac with the
Yeah.
chandeliers on it.
That's right.
Those are those are things that just don't happen anymore. And then when I do see them happen, as Los knows, I'm a very conflicted and cynical person about information and media, and it's
Mhm.
just hard for me to watch people redo things because
Yeah.
I don't do things because I feel like somebody's already done it. Like somebody
Right.
beat me to doing a container radio station here, and somebody else was like, "Yo, Jay, you can build one yourself and still do it. You can still do the coffee shop idea." And I'm like, somebody did it. It's kind of,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like they've already
Oh,
went there. I need to figure
yeah.
out the next thing, and I need to act faster because
Right.
there are always ideas out here. How do you guys feel about the ether? Meaning the idea that an idea comes to Los, but if Los doesn't use that
Mhm.
idea will, show up someplace else because it needs to be born. It's like
Going to.
We feed off of each other a lot. I know I've said things and not even been thinking about the significance of them. And my dad will say, "Hey, Los, I like what you said there. That's the title of a song. Somebody should write about that." And what did I say, advertising criminals or something like that.
Yeah.
And he said,
Yeah.
"I like that," because we were talking about, a lot of the young people. I said, "Why do they always get on social media and broadcasting the wrong things that they do or the things they know are illegal that's gonna get them in trouble? Like if I'm gonna do something wrong,
Yeah.
I'm probably not gonna advertise what I'm doing.
you're not going to stream it live.
No, I'm not gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna try not to do the wrong thing first. But if I feel like I gotta do something wrong, I'm definitely not telling nobody.
No.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I said, man, it's just advertising criminals, man.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Yeah, we gonna write a song about that."
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Errors. You guys both come out of Errors. I think, and by Errors I mean ERA Errors, not ERRORS errors. You guys come from groups of people, moments in time where several people in that moment in time have gone off and done incredible things, and there are people who have done incredible things as part of that moment that haven't exploded and expanded. My mom's best friend, Miss Williams, from Detroit, is calling me right now. I can't answer. They maybe she's watching, maybe she's not. The the They're like groups of people. Like I think I got lucky, and I went to first, second, and third grade with some really bright people. I was lucky. I was in East Lansing, and the guy who invented Google went to East Lansing, one of the founders of Google. His parents were like professor emeritus and the department head of the computer program at Michigan State. There's a guy who was like a genius who went to school with me, and then there's a guy who was uh he was a savant, like a saxophone savant. Like you get to be in these pockets of people, which is overwhelming at sometimes because even in Detroit there were so many better DJs than I was. Shotgun, Los, Lynn Swan, um, Wax
Yes.
Tax and Dre, Dez. You know what I'm saying? I was like, these guys are all better than me. Why am I DJing? I would,
I felt the same way. I felt the same way, Jason.
I hear Emcees and I would be like, I'm not rapping. Not when there's even the dudes, like there was even the dudes that were average, like I felt were better than me. And I would hear people, and I'd be like, that's not a hit record, or that's not a hit record MC yet. Like coming up in the hip hop shop, a lot of those guys became great MCs, but people would always ask me during that era, why didn't more of them get deals? Because they were like an egg that hadn't hatched yet. What do you guys feel about, the time that you came up, like, like your time on the court?
Um, well, I'm like a granddaddy to all of them guys you're talking about right there because we had the first full length rap album, and like I came up in the era like with Esham and Awesome Dre and
You
all
guys
those.
beat KMC out, didn't you? KMC Crew. They
Yeah,
had
I
the
don't think
first
they had
platinum record.
Did they have a whole album or did they have an EP?
They had two whole albums, and one of the second album was the one with Curve Records, and that was the one that had The Devil Came Up to Michigan.
I remember
and
that.
that one went gold. And that was either it was they were all their stuff. The first stuff was 87, 88, 89. Your record came out in 88.
Yeah.
And so you preceded a lot of people. A lot of people's
Yeah.
records were, weren't out in 88. A lot of techno was out, but there were
Yeah.
like a lot of singles out, like the dudes who made the la 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 la, they like there's
SBS
another
Learning.
group. Yeah, there was like a lot of people who had, you know, records that, you might be like, man, now you look back and you have your criticisms, but at that point in time, they were on the scene
Yeah.
performing live.
Yeah.
This, and but what does it mean to come from an era like that? And do you see people around you and you say, man, that dude's he's gonna be something?
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know that I was conscious all the time, or I said somebody might be something, but
I was definitely conscious. As I know, at least for Eminem.
yeah,
I saw Eminem after his growth. I seen, I saw him in action. You know what I'm saying? I was standing next to him, and in these ciphers up at the hip hop shop, and like, man, this dude is incredible. You know what I'm saying? He murdering these guys, and he's a white guy. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So it was to the point where I would go and grab my friend like DJ Babe and Chris Walker, the late Chris Walker. He just passed away just recently, like a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
Shout out to the prayers, man. But I went and got them guys. Chris Cobb. Like, y'all got to see this white guy named Eminem up at the hip hop shop that is murking everybody, man. This guy.
Around what year would you say that was?
Man, that had to be. I don't know, man, like 96, 97.
Yeah. What I'm saying is me and you met in 93. We met with Finesse in like 92, 93.
Yeah.
At that time, when I was looking at people, I was like, not, you know what I'm saying? Like dope, but not quite yet. Do you know what I mean? Like there was a lot of people. We were there literally. I'm talking about before people were really getting it in.
Yeah.
Like, like the Chinese restaurant party was 90, 91. That was 91, 92,
Right.
that was your record was out 5 years before I probably gave you the Wu-Tang single.
Right.
Like that was before I got out of high school.
Okay.
And you know what I'm saying? So that's really predating stuff. Do you know what I mean? There was a guy named Robert, I don't think his last name was Johnson. Miss Scarborough, Charles Scarborough's mom, her brother was from kind of the borderline right there between the east and west side, and he was one of you guys' crew members, or one was. He introduced me to Cliff from Byright. He brought me down to Detroit in like 1987, 88, and took me to Byright. I had never seen that many good records in one place at the same time, like just walls of records. It was a whole different experience. As you guys move forward, you said you got a project that you guys are both going to work on together again. Is that coming soon? Is that something you guys are in process on, or is that something that's inception area?
Well, I had started it when the pandemic hit, and then I placed it on hold. And now that everything seems to be moving further along, I'm going to get back involved with that project. I don't see it really materialized until next year, 2023. And it's a one-time body of work. It involves me and two other musicians that are the nucleus players of doing the Death Row classics, the music. And Los will be the only other part of the project. It's called Def Squad RST, and the R stands for Ricky Rouse, guitarist, and the S stands for DJ Los, and myself, Carl Butch Small, Carlos DJ Los Small, and the T stands for Sean Barney Rebel Thomas. He's a keyboardist that played on all of those wonderful hit records with me at Death Row, like California Love.
It ain't no fun.
Ain't no fun, and so we're the classic three rhythm players for Snoop, Doggy Dogg World, everything, you know. And the album is going to have some elements of that because we are the three magical pieces of that puzzle. But we're going to do current sound. The song is really going to sound like, you know, that it's not unmistakably the rhythm section from Death Row is called DNA, Pieces of Death Row. But we got about 8 different things that I've been working on, and I'm going to pick from those, and then we're developing new pieces of music as well. So I like the new. I like the new genre of music, like, you know, Lil Baby and all of them. I like this. I like the rhythm that they're using. So I'm gonna take some of those elements and form them within the framework of what we do. And see, we're like master musicians, and so I'm looking forward to creating another level going in the direction with hip hop. You know, I want it to be new. I want it to be like, wow, how did, see, when we used to do songs before they came out, people would say, dang, how did they come up with that? How would, you know what I'm saying? And that's the magic of it all. And try and make something that nobody never heard before. And how did they do it? And see the chase. See the other people trying to chase after that sound. And that's what I like, you know, just to see, like when we did Death Row, everybody was trying to say, oh man, let me try and make something like Dre. Let me try and make something like this and like that. And I like the chase. I like to see who's going to get in there, who's going to win. You know,
even the Twins album.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
all that stuff that came from that era that both predated and came out like right along the same time was all super influential.
Yeah, I did the Twins. I did Warren G. I did all of those things, you know. So we'll see who joins the chase, and that's what I want to see. You know, when they say, "Wow, this is it. This is the newest sound. This is where we got to go." Yeah.
But you got Los in the music. Who got you into music, or what got you into music?
You know, nothing influential got me into music except my parents. They were not musical, but they bought all the latest records from the radio. My mother would have all the latest 45s from the popular R&B records from the radio that she would hear. My dad, he bought all the jazz albums, and so I had no way of knowing it. It just dawned on me as of now, recently, that I wound up being a DJ when I was a kid without knowing it, because they used to have these house parties at the house. These and I would be the DJ for them. You know, they would have their little gambling parties and all that, and I would stay up and play all the music to keep the people entertained. So I was a DJ at about 9, 10 years old and did not know that. And I got very into listening to a lot of music. And I had a cousin that was maybe 11 years older than me that has some bongos, and brought them over to the house, and he let me keep them for a little period of time, you know, and I wound up playing along with these jazz albums and try to mimic what I heard. And so that's what really got me involved in music at that
Was it drums? Was that the first instrument you dove into, or was it
well, just percussion, just the bongos, the congas, things of that nature. That's my first endeavor of wanting to be involved with music. I had no way of knowing that I was gonna become a musician, because that was when I was like 8, 9, 10, sort of like that. And then I didn't even get back into music till I was around 17. and from that point on, that's what it's been. It's been music.
Is it ever too late for people to get into music?
I don't think it's too late because you still got naturals. You got people that didn't develop and didn't go all the way. So I don't think it's too late. I think the only thing about music is if you're trying to be an artist and stuff like that out there. Now everybody, music has always been a youthful thing, So, but if you can find your niche and find, all music that's being created has its audience. It just has to find it.
Right.
But it's been a youthful thing from way back. They sell the masses of music is a youthful thing.
Why do you think that is? Is just because you have the time and the energy to do the level of touring it takes? Do you think it's just, what do you think creates or makes it a youth driven thing?
Look, I think it's a youth thing because you have the energy. You definitely have the energy to get out there and tour and hustle and try to be better in the competition zone with everything that you're hearing. So the youth is always going to win on that tip. And then as audiences get older, they don't buy as much as they used to. They settled into life a different way.
Sure.
But the youth, they'll spend your money. They'll spend my money. They'll spend anybody's money. We all had, if we got little grandkids and kids coming up, and they'd be like, "Oh, I want that. Can I have that? Can you do it for me?" Or whatever. So they'll spend anybody's money to get what they need. But as you grow older with bills and different things, different responsibilities, it's like, oh, I don't need it as much. But youth, they need what they see. They need it. Clothes, phones, the latest everything.
Right. Ernie had a question, but I'm not sure how it's structured on here, so I may have to rephrase it. I'm thinking about it right now. I'm looking up at the screen. He said, how do you feel about when people put you in a specific production lane or a certain production lane? And then the second part of the question, he said, when do you feel that you may be well-rounded? I'm not sure I get the full context of it. You guys may see it up there. Ernie's on Facebook, or Ernie, if you want to rephrase it. You guys see it up there on the screen?
Mm-hmm, we see it.
Yeah.
That's pertaining to my dad, right?
I think it must be pertaining to your dad.
Mm-hmm. At the top.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, when it comes to production, I'm looking at this question, and it's like saying when people put you in a certain production lane, but you already feel that you are well-rounded, so you can't really adapt and change what's going on. I never have that situation because sometimes I have created things in a production lane with different producers, and they may say, "No, I think I wanted to go in another direction." So it's up to me to create and try to figure out how we're going to approach what we're doing. I've done that a few times where I might think something should go this way, and the producer may think it should go this way. So I'll try it both ways. And then sometimes the producer say, "You know what, I never thought of it to be this way. And I like the way it went at your thought." So you're going to always, those challenges, if you're working with a producer and you're not producing things yourself, you're gonna get another side of things, but you got to be able to adapt and go for it. So you can be you know, I don't think you should ever be trapped into a production lane. Uh, if you would just present what it is that you think and let them and do what they think, and then it'll probably compromise and change, or it might you might just did it the way the producer wanted it, and that's what that producer had that painting. See, a body of work is like a painting to me, um, and all the elements, you know, that paint that picture. And if the producer is one of those kind of producers, there's been producers like that, like Tom Bell at Philly International. Tom will write out everything, and this is the way everything is going. And but he painted that whole picture, so you play those parts, you know.
There's sometimes I guess that it's more collaborative, and then there are other times where it's literally you're a player.
Yeah,
And that's it. You're a hired gun to
you're a
specifically play
hired
something.
gun. You're a hired gun. But most of the time, when I'm hired to uh, play percussion, most of the people will want me to create those parts, unless it's very simple, basic things that they want, you know, that they wrote on paper. You know, we can play that. But a lot of people will ask me, you know, can you play what you did on that record? Uh, and I like that sound. And can you do this here? And I'll tell them, well, I can play that, but I'm going to change it just a little bit, you know, so that it's not that you are not copying what the other person did, because I'm the player that played what it is you want, but I can create something even a little along that ways and even enhance it and make it be different. And
Right.
so, um, yeah, you get the challenges. Being a hired gun, you're gonna always get the challenges.
Right. How do you think Los and in your lane, has anyone ever thought, you know, that there was something that you couldn't do or hasn't seen your capability to move in a specific direction and you had to like either prove it or do it for them to really see it? Like they couldn't see the opening for you or couldn't see you performing in a certain way.
If they have, I didn't know about it. Um, Usually I'm the one that knows my limitations, and if I feel like another person is better for a certain situation, I don't have a problem with uh, elevating that individual to that position instead of myself. You know, DJ Dez, he can attest to that. Certain things that I feel like Dez could be in the better. He's a better suited DJ for that occasion or whatever, and I'll make sure he gets that opportunity. Um, and like even with Dez used to be part of a group called the Inner Circle, but before the Inner Circle, they didn't know Dez. They wanted me to be their DJ, and I told them I couldn't because I was signed to my dad. And I said I know somebody who's better than me, and I took him to meet Dez, and Dez ended up being their DJ, and then later working with Jay Dilla. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
um, that's how I operate. So usually I'm the person who says, you know what, I probably could execute what you asked me to do, or I might be good, but I know somebody who's better fit.
For what you're trying to accomplish, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Has that ever led to other opportunities? Meaning, do people follow up? How often does that happen for the both of you? Like sometimes I know you'll put people onto a project or you help them out with something, and they don't remember you helped them out,
Oh,
and
that happens all the time.
you know that's that's an unfortunate consequence of being somebody that's willing to give. Um, and then other people, sometimes people, as dope as you are, some people just don't give you the opportunity to be great.
Yeah, that happens all the time. They'll overlook you until they see you get a huge recognition from someone else, and then here they come. You know what I'm saying? Man, I always knew that you could. It was you, and then they want to get back in, and then it's up to you if you want to be bothered with that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we've all had those situations. That's just I don't know. I don't want to say human nature, but a lot of humans act that way.
Yeah, a lot of it is, is just who we are as people, human beings. I mean, there's some people that are just like that. How do you guys feel like Detroit influenced you as creators? Um, what do you think about, the city itself and how the city's evolved over time and what it is and how that feeds into who you guys are as artists?
Well, I'll go for that first.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely a product of Detroit, as we call it, the hood. I love it. I've always got my energy from Detroit. Even when I left to go out and do Death Row and work with everybody in California, I worked with so many acts in Cali, but I wound up being back in Detroit, and I it's just a certain, this is home for me, and no matter whose records that I work on or whatever, I take Detroit, that sound with me. You can't count how many times people I've worked with said, "Damn man, we tried to do this before and it didn't work," and you're the piece that makes it work. And so I really, I'm in tune to Detroit. No matter what nobody says about Detroit, there's musicians in Detroit have been some of the greatest musicians throughout the music industry. Some of the greatest vocalists are from Detroit. I mean, we got legends. I mean, back in the day when the jazz records was really going really strong in the 50s and 60s and stuff, and they'll say none of the musicians swing as hard as the musicians in Detroit, and that's been standard of the industry throughout, and everywhere. You'll find people from Detroit in all types of bands and music. I mean, from rock and roll, we done had some of the greatest rock acts out of here. We done had some of the greatest hip hop. Eminem is one of the greatest that it will be another M. Greatest R&B acts, greatest gospel. It used to be called the gospel capital. Detroit had some of the biggest gospel acts from here.
The Winans family, right?
The Winans are from here. Clark sisters are from here. The Moss family is from here. I mean, I can go on and on and on. That's just the gospel side of things. But,
right.
We have people like Bob Seger and all of them. They may not be from Detroit. They're from Ann Arbor, but they're all around. And the music from this area, Motown. I mean, Motown is the biggest thing out of here from music forever. A Motown song is heard around the world every day.
Yeah. John Lee Hooker started his career in Detroit, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys, did you remember a group called Death?
Yeah. They were in the studio when I was in the studio. I had a group called Legacy, and Death was another act in the studio. And we were signed to Don Davis's label. We did our albums and things like that at United Sound. And so, they were black rock and roll, where nobody thought black should be doing rock and roll, So, I'm familiar with Death, absolutely.
Groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then there's other groups, Rare Earth and
Rare Earth, that's what I'm saying. We got Rare Earth, we got Grand Funk Railroad, we got Ted
Iggy Pop.
Iggy Pop. We got so many. That's what I'm saying. This music, Detroit, Michigan, period, cannot be off the map.
The Emeralds are from here.
Detroit Emeralds. Dramatics, Al Hudson One Way, Michael Henderson. I mean, it's tons of music here,
And what would electronic music be without Juan Atkins and
Exactly.
and
You know,
Kevin Saunderson and Derek May and Eddie
you
Fowlkes
got
and Seth
those-
Troxler and
yeah,
the Lenders. Honestly, the Detroit Techno Militia and all the DJs are part of that, and DJ Psycho. Like there's, they influence everybody around the world. When movement comes, to me, still movement is so much funkier and harder than
yeah,
any of the other festivals. I would
right.
if I'm gonna go stand outside trapped
Yeah,
in 10,000, fifty
yeah,
thousand people, I'll do it in Detroit. I won't be
yeah.
I won't
You
be in
won't go.
Vegas.
You won't be in Vegas. You won't go to Central Park and.
No. Central no, definitely not Central Park. I love New York, but yeah, getting did you watch the Summer of Soul documentary?
Yes, I did. Definitely got it. And I'm, you know, hands off to my boy. He got.
Much love.
Yeah, Quest got the Oscar.
Yeah, congratulations to Quest. It's
Mhm.
amazing that guy sat on that footage. The guy who actually shot all that and
Oh yeah,
arranged it,
for
like
years.
he won't be. He didn't get the credit. Quest got the credit, but it wouldn't have been. It wouldn't have ever made it to light of day without him finding Questlove or somebody introducing
Sure,
Questlove to him. But
sure.
that's amazing that he shot all that stuff and
Right.
then sat on it and kept it. And then the recordings and the video are
Uh,
fantastic. That
yeah.
Stevie Wonder performance, I keep telling people, I was like, the Stevie Wonder performance by itself is enough that you should watch that documentary.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a great documentary. Yeah, great.
And completely lost to
Mention
history.
Billy Davis, Marilyn McCool. I did their record. You don't have to be a star. It's the Fifth Dimension is in the Summer of Soul. I mean, it's just so much. It's just, yeah.
It's crazy stuff, man. And then we can't forget people like Jessica Care Moore and writers and the artists and stuff that are part of Detroit's history. It's really crazy, and there's so many people that I am fans of that are from Detroit that haven't made it yet. That I'm sure at some point in time their artistry will see the light of day.
Yeah.
Detroit's an amazing city. I don't know that I'll move home and deal with the winter again. Uh, right
Well,
away.
that's never going to go away.
No, the winter is not going away, just like those glacial lakes ain't going anywhere.
Right. Yeah.
They're not going to freeze, get out of those pits and move someplace else.
Uh,
They'll be there as long as they don't destroy them in the process of so-called industrial
sure.
progress.
Right.
Is there anything like you guys, would say, to a young artist trying to make it or to people that are trying to make it? I mean, I think the biggest thing of both of you guys, Los, you as a turntablist, somebody that's spent that much time developing themselves as a hip hop artist, and then you, Butch, somebody who plays music. I don't know why. There's a million reasons why, but I don't know why, there are not more people playing instruments. I wish there were, but to inspire people to kind of go down the traditional paths that you guys have to become artists, is there anything you think that you would tell or say to somebody that's developing as an artist?
I would tell them to have passion for whatever it is that they do. Passion should be the driving force, not money.
Right.
And and because you're gonna get that, you're gonna get some of that. Depending on how much you involve yourself in the lane that you're in, the financial reward is gonna come.
Oh, yeah.
But don't let that be your driving force. Because eventually people won't respect you for moving like that. You know what I'm saying? They respect the people who have passion, and because it transfers into their art form. You know what I'm saying? They can see it. They're like, this guy has longevity. He's old. He's still doing it, but he's still good. He's still good. You know what I'm saying? And your craft will just surpass anything else. You know what I'm saying? So that would be my advice.
Yep. And my advice is, never give up. Because you don't know when it's your time. You don't know when it's your turn. Just be passionate, like Lo said, with your craft. Because for some reason you have it in you, and why would you turn your back on that? You just got to fight through the fire, and you'll make it. You'll make it.
TJ Smith says, "I love you guys."
Yeah, I saw that, man. I was just about to get on there and tell him I love him back. And DJ TJ from the infamous Billy T and TJ show, and what they have, what's next on the menu. I did the theme song for that show he did there. But back in the day, TJ and Billy T used to play all of the Detroit artists on their radio show, and man, I love you. I love you back, TJ.
The Rap Blast, man.
Yup, the Rap Blast. That's what it is. How could I forget the name?
Man, TJ and Billy T looked out for me, man. I mean, I brought them records all the time, and they played them. They played my mixes. They gave people a break. You know what I'm saying? They looked out for people, and they were cool dudes. And you don't get that in every city. There's other dudes that I've heard a lot of stories about people getting jerked by radio DJs and also getting dissed hard by radio DJs.
Yeah.
And that's a really discouraging thing that can destroy somebody. You'll go home and you won't make another rap record. You won't make another record, period.
They also had Jam It or Slam It. Okay. And I remember when my record came out, we had Hit Me was our single back in '88. And I remember they played my record. And that was a very crucial point for me because I had to go back to school the very next day. If they would have slammed my record, I'd have been there like, oh man, they slammed your record, man. You know what I'm saying? So, but thankfully, we passed. You know what I'm saying? We had a lot of votes. Everybody was like, pass it. You know what I'm saying? Jam it.
I remember that too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember because I was like, please don't let them slam my record. And they jammed it. And I got all the praises when I went back to high school. Shout out to Henry Ford High School. When I went back to school the next day, everybody was like, man, they jammed your record. So I was happy.
They broke a lot of music, man. WJLB.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
The home of Jeff Mills, the Wizard.
Yep, the Wizard.
And, of course, we all love Electrifying Mojo, but, everybody listened to Chris, Captain Chris and the Wizard. Captain Chris would have that 6 to 10 show, and at the end of it, it'd be like, dun, 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 it's time for the Wizard. Dude was amazing, man. They kept reducing his time. Like, first it was an hour, then it was like a little over a half hour. Then it was like between when it was the top of an hour, when the little ID hit and the next commercial set that came up, he had to get all the records in, and he used to get it down. He used to get it done, man. The dude Jeff is incredible. Like, his history in music is incredible. His hand skills are incredible. He inspired so many DJs.
You gotta look at his new documentary he got, man. He's doing music over in Greece or somewhere, or Athens somewhere in the ruins, and it's real abstract. But I was like, man, that's the Wizard. Look at that. It's crazy.
Yeah, man. You never know where you never know where it's gonna take you. And the cool thing is, I've always been a fan of people who do music in specific spaces. Like, I don't know if you guys watched them back in the day. They had the Pink Floyd live footage when they did it wasn't the Acropolis. It was, I think they went to Pompeii, right in the ocean. There's all these ruins from Pompeii, and they did like, some of their older and newer stuff there, and they recorded it. They bought a big console out and tracked out a bunch of songs out there. It was
that's sort of what Jeff Mills just did. I gotta go and look at that.
Yeah, Pink Floyd, man. And people back in the day in the 70s, your dad will tell you this, those artists that had those huge budgets would be over in England. They would rent out an entire manor, and they would bring truckloads of equipment in and wire it up, and they'd record these albums in like an old English manor, or like an old, like an old French, not necessarily castle, but like a manor, like a lord or earl or something lived there. And it would, and those are incredible sounding records. And that's why I asked the question about, Detroit and the various spaces that you guys record in, because where you're at the time, the room, not just the console and the equipment or the people that are there, the room sometimes affects how you do something, or what city you're in affects how you do something. And,
Sure.
The vibe. And I just always wondered, like, Butch, like you've worked all over the country, when you're in Lexington, is Lexington's energy different than Chicago? Is Chicago's energy different than LA? Is LA's energy different than?
Absolutely. New York. I used to drive back and forth from Detroit to Cleveland, New York. You know, man, I remember the days that that's when your brother was being born. I was traveling to Cleveland and New York. I did Wild Cherry, played that funky music, White Boy. You know, I got a chance to do a lot of artists in my career. And, you know, playing percussionist allowed me to do different genres of music, you know, and just going where the music took me, you know. And I used to just travel the highway. That's why I like doing it now, driving down the sevens, jumping 5.5 hours. I'm in Kentucky, and then me and him working on music all day and night, and the next day, and then I'll drive back home.
Better driving than flying.
Yeah, well, at this time, you know, because I'm taking a lot of equipment, it's better to drive. Seven wanted me to fly down, but I'm like, nah, I need to drive because I got to bring so much gear, you know.
It's a great way to see the country.
Yeah, you know, I do it all year round, you know.
He did it when Dr. Dre called him too.
Oh yeah, I sure did. Yeah, when Dre thought I was gonna catch a plane to come to Cali, and I told him, I said, no, I'm gonna drive out, and he thought I was scared to fly. I said, no, it's just certain things, equipment I need to bring, and I can't rent it. You know, a certain sound that I have to have. So I drove out to Cali for two and a half days, and I pulled up at Larry West Studio and went right in and started working on above the rim soundtrack and all that stuff. Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's incredible. Being a dad for the both of you, any dad advice for the guys out here? You raised Los, so Los is a great dude. He's been one of the most positive influences, I think, in Detroit music. And definitely, a great friend. How do you
Likewise,
do it?
bro.
What'd you say?
Yeah, likewise.
I appreciate that. How do you do that as a father? There's no way to know the outcome. I mean, but how do you do that? Because you're a very busy person.
Yeah, you do the parenting thing, you know. I mean, and you try to become your your children's friend. You know what I'm saying? You try to understand because we're all different, and as they get older, they're going to develop into their own, you know. But at the beginning, I try to give them the substance and give them what they need, and then from that point on, Los just happened to love music. I mean, I took him to get his turntables. I bought him one 1200. I knew all the right pieces to buy because I had been around it in New York. I knew you had to use the Staten cartridges and the Newmark mixer, and I knew all the model numbers of everything, you know. So when I took him to Wonderland Music, and I went in there asking for the things that I wanted, and I got them, and he was like, I think that was a special day, huh?
Oh yeah.
All that brand new equipment.
Oh yeah.
And chords, a PV amp where you can hear what you're doing. And
he caught me playing on my grandmother's little portable turntable, trying to learn how to scratch, man.
Yeah.
And he asked me what I was doing, and I was all embarrassed. I said, I'm scratching. He said, don't you need some equipment? I don't have no money for nothing like that, you know. He said, I'll take you tomorrow. We're going to go to Wonderland Music here. You know, it was in Dearborn. And that's when he bought me my first turntable, a PV amp, and a Newmark mixer.
Was there a requirement on that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, basically, my requirement on that, for getting that stuff was, I told him, if you ever going to do whatever you're doing, buy the top of the line equipment. And to this day, that's what blows by, as I said, because these are your tools, you know, and that's what I did with the equipment that I use. I buy the top of the line because it's going to help you, first of all. And second of all, you're going to learn on the best equipment. So that's all you're going to ever use. And that's what I told him. I said, if you ever get anything else, buy the top of the line. And that's it.
Buy the best equipment. And, you know, the other stipulation was, he said, let me see how serious you are with it.
Yep.
If you're serious with it,
Yeah.
you get the other turntable. And I showed him, you know, that same year, you know, like maybe not even a few weeks after he bought the turntable, then he started my rap group. Him and my Uncle Gene and late manager Mr. Maxey, Mr. John Maxey, they put me and Easy B together and said, we all gonna do a rap album together. You know what I'm saying? I hadn't been scratching but a couple of weeks. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't long at all before I had after I had the equipment.
Yeah.
And so
that was
yeah, it was real fast. Everything was real fast for me.
Yeah.
And but I stepped up to the plate, you know, because I knew I wanted to do it, you know, but I didn't think that I was going to get a record situation out of it. I just wanted to learn how to scratch, you know.
Yeah.
So, but Dad seen something, and they started the label, and I was one of the first artists on the label.
Mm-hmm. I played basically almost all the instruments on it.
Yep.
Wow. Brought in Maceo Parker to do the sax solo.
Yep.
Destiny, and brought in my guy Jim Beiser, because at that point I was music director for Channel 4 for Saturday Night Music Machine. I brought Jim in because Jim could play guitar and keyboards and stuff like that. We did the Untouchable theme, you know, all that. Man, it was, boy.
Yeah.
It's incredible, man. That's parenting. That's investing in your kids' dreams.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Brought Emmanuel Stewart in on the video, you know, Emmanuel, my girlfriend, and Emmanuel and I went to bank at Comerica Bank, and his office was down the street from my office. Mm-hmm. And so we wanted to put Emmanuel in there. He gave y'all Kronk jackets. We went to Kronk, and, you know, he's in the video. I mean, it all, you know, it just went like that. Yeah. Yep.
Fantastic stories, people. Thank you so much for sharing, you know, the stories of your life and, you know, your family, you know, and you know, all this music history and all this knowledge. You know, you didn't have to do it. You could have been chilling. You could have been you could have been doing your own stream. Guys, don't forget to follow DJ Los. Look him up. He's on Twitch, but he's also on Facebook. And follow his IG and follow Butch Smalls, because Butch Small has been on. I've counted over 100. While I was doing my research, I was like, there's over 100. Butch Small. I was like, there's so many records here and so many incarnations of your name. I looked up the wrong name and found 20 records. You know what I mean? Like, I put an S on your name and then like found 20 records and then copied it.
Yeah, because they'll throw an S on there. I mean, there's people in overseas that'll spell my name Carl with the K. You know, it's like so many accolades and credits. I mean, I really been. I know people like to loosely say that I've been blessed or whatever, but I definitely got that. And the Creator just handed it to me, and I never dropped the torch. I've been rolling with that. Yeah.
Has there ever been a downtime? Because it doesn't. But if you look at your discography, you've never had a downtime, which is unusual.
No, it's never been a downtime at all, and I'm having a ball. I've been with the Four Tops for 10 years. I'm their road manager, and as their percussionist, I get to play with the Temptations when I have the time to do the Temps as well. But we travel all over the world, and I definitely like playing live, because it's like amazing that still have the ability, the stamina, and the thinking ability. And we're doing these songs, and we do about 90 shows a year. So.
Is there a spiritual or healthcare secret that you need to share? Because
I think I doing everything I always normally did. Nothing no more than that. I don't go to the gym. I don't work out. I get to work out with all the equipment and the power. Playing congas live, you have to have power. Because it's you, the equipment, and microphones, and what you're trying to project and do. You have to have that power. And I do that in the studio too, so I can get the sound that I'm looking for with things, But I think my congas give me the most exercise of all.
How often do you play them?
Oh, I do at least 7 to 8 concerts a month.
Got you.
All over the country and all over the world. So I play them. I don't do any rehearsing or any of that kind of stuff. We're way far beyond rehearsal. It's like whenever I touch my drums, it's for an audience.
Los, what's your practice regimen?
Whenever I feel it. Whenever I feel it.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be chilling and I'll be like, I'm getting ready to go live.
Yep.
And I'll go live.
Yep.
Or, what I'm saying? Or I just have a session with myself for an hour or two just by myself. Just practicing rhythm, just scratching.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, man, I should have recorded that. Or, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's just spontaneous with me.
I get you. Real quick before we go, Butch Small, who is your favorite drummer? Who are your favorite drummers?
Oh, that's simple. My favorite drummer is Earl Young. He's from Philly. He's 81. Earl will be 82 in June. I had the chance to meet him this past October. I drove up to Buffalo, New York, because he was doing a show. He's part of the Tramps. He wrote Disco Inferno. He is the drummer on everything Philly International ever produced, like the Soul Train theme, Stylistics, People Make the World Go Round, Harold Melvin and Blue Notes, Bad Luck, Teddy Pendergrass's Turn Off the Lights, everything. And he did Diamond in the Back, Sunroof Top, a lot of records, some Donna Summer stuff, and he's a great drummer. So I would have to say that Earl is my favorite drummer. Yeah.
Okay. And Los, favorite DJ?
It's a toss up between.
I know what he's gonna say.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
I know one person you ain't gonna leave out. As soon as you say it,
You gonna say? Well, it's hard. It's hard to say. It's hard to say for me because I got a bunch of favorites, and like Jazzy Jeff is like that's my guy because his rhythm was so precise back in the day. I used to emulate him. I'm like, man, this guy, I want to be precise like that. But there's been so many since him, DJ Scratch is another from EPMD because he got the intricate patterns.
Man, played like a piano.
The
funky piano with the beat. That's an Albert King sample.
And so what you saying pattern? So when he did the solo, so what you saying, man? I imitate that pattern all the time. But I gotta give a shout out to one of my home team people, and that's DJ Leon Swan. Leon Swan is my favorite guy that I know. You know what I'm saying? Dez is there too, and Shotgun. But Swan is just so quick with his turntablism, with the beat juggling. He's so fast. I haven't seen anybody, come close to that. I posted a video of him that we did at the hip hop shop a few years ago, and it's got like 50,000 views on it because everybody saw how good this. Out of all of us, he's the one that's been in the DMCs. You know what I'm saying? That for world supremacy. So Swan is like my hero that I know. So shout out to DJ Lynn Swan of my DJ crew, the 12 Tech Mob.
Yeah. Fantastic.
He also did the scratches on Dice's album as well that my dad put out. Yeah, he did all of the record scratching on Dice, Smoketown, USA. Yeah.
Did I know that? I probably knew that. And
I don't know.
I don't know. I had that album somewhere.
That's the dopest scratch record that came out of Detroit. Out of any DJ that put a record out with scratches on it, that right there, if you go back and listen to those scratches, nobody is as quick as him. Swan.
No, he's got crazy hand speed.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. I've got to make sure we put your social media when I post this. So please send me your social media because I'm going to post it on YouTube. Fortunately, I stopped. I tried to play music one time since I've started doing this, and it was, they basically, I couldn't keep it on any format. So, that's why there's no music. But I'll definitely want to big you guys up social media wise, and hopefully, generate some more followers for you and some more fans. And as you guys get closer to creating this family project that you're going to do, a lot of people will follow along and look at the development of it, and then also check out the actual final product.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
Oh man, thank you.
All right, appreciate you, man. I'll catch you guys soon. Take care. Thanks so much. Did you share it on your Twitch, Los?
Not on my Twitch. I have to do that. It's on my Facebook page.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's just I know on Twitch you can host it, and then whatever people watch your page, just as a trick for you, if you can get people to host what you're doing, whatever you're doing on your page, other DJs, then their audiences will then follow you or see you and then become your followers, so you can start to build up more momentum. Because I'd love to see you have a bigger audience. Dez has developed a pretty good audience, So if you can get,
I'm gonna be more active on Twitch. I know I've been lazy there, but I'm DJ Los the Hebrew on Twitch, and I have another Twitch page called DJ Los the Original.
We put DJ Los the Original in the chat, and then the other one we need to throw that up in the chat for you.
Okay.
But yeah, man, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I know how busy you guys are. I really appreciate you spending time. Hopefully, I was gonna do house shoes today, but I wanted to get you guys on. I also got to get Dan Charnas on, who wrote the Dilla book, who's a good friend of mine, and Tambisa M. Shaka, who used to run the hip hop department at Gavin Magazine, and she did the Big Gavin convention in New York. She's an LA original, and then went to the Bay Area and made a lot of noise by creating all types of content and content. She's a superwoman. She's dope. But hopefully you guys will come back and check it out. I hope everybody that's watching comes back and checks it out. And then this will be on my Facebook page. It'll be on YouTube. I'll send the links out. Thank you guys so much, and I'll holler at you later.
Oh man, appreciate you.
Appreciate you guys. Peace.
Peace.